Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Podcast Live. And this morning I've got Wil Fleeson, who is the co-director of Rainbow International Buchanan Street, and he has been with the brand since 1996, has had his stamp on all aspects of the brand, be that education, be that the art team, and obviously in salon owning. He's got a unique perspective on looking at customer care. It's one of the most important things to him, and something that, especially through 10-Step, he helps drive through his business, and then some of the education in the future businesses that he went on to run as well. So no further ado, again, welcome to Podcast Live. And let's hear it for Wil Fleeson. Good morning, Wil. So coming up the train in 1996 and getting off at Central, so we're literally round the corner from A, where you got off the train, and B, where you got your first pint in Glasgow when you came here. How quickly did the concept of consultation at Rainbow Room feel different to what you were doing down south?
Yeah, I was light years ahead. And I think that's kind of what really switched me onto the company coming up. And I came from a big company before that had salons everywhere, but it was just, everything was systematic. So for me, for somebody that wanted to get on and do stuff, everything could be put down on a sheet and you could see what the journey was, to how to build a clientele, whatever that might have been. Yeah. And it was there in black and white, and if you follow the system through, then the results would come to the end of it. Mm-hmm. So it was very, very different at that particular time. And like, I came and I was ready to completely retrain, even though I'd been in the industry for 10 years, because you'd heard about Rainbow Room and everything that was in there, and you go into the salons, and I remember seeing everybody there. So, to be involved in that was amazing in those early days.
And then the kind of birth of what's now classed as the official 10-Step and the key elements of that. Where do you see that important, even from then, never mind now?
It's a system, and this is really important to understand, because when you talk about systems, people can switch off because we're creatives generally in the hairdressing industry. But when you look at everything that is generated, the art team work to a system. Mm-hmm. It's whatever Susie decides that she wants to install with the art team. That's going to be the system of creation at that particular point. Yeah. The assistants go through a system through that program. They have their steps that they need to go through. So 10-Step is basically another system, but everyone talks about customer service, but 10-Step is customer service on a sheet of paper. Yeah. And that's it. And what it means is if you touch those 10 points through that visit, that is then a perfect visit. Yeah. Because it encompasses everything that the client wants to discuss. And, when we're growing clienteles, it doesn't mean that you have to follow that 10-Step rigidly from 1 to 10. Of course, it's, sort of the welcome when people come in, and it's a compliment when they go away. But when you're building clients, you might find that you talk colour earlier, or you might talk colour later. And now it's not just about talking colour, it's about making sure we're skin testing. Of course. So also 10-Step has evolved as well. It's not just about hands-on now, it's about educating the client of the different things.
Well, of course, that's it. Again, we're talking about past, present, future and moving these things forward. But what I think is really important that you said there about hitting all the bases in the 10-Step, but it doesn't necessarily need to go 1 to 10. Obviously, 1 needs to be where it is, 10 needs to be where it is. And then there's all that bit in the middle, which then makes it a different journey for that particular client. Yeah. It feels personal for them.
It is.
There you go. And but off the back of that, the idea that you're talking about the perfect visit, the utopia of that perfect visit is that they get a treatment and they get a colour and they get retail. Right? That's the absolute utopia. But even just the fact that those bases have been covered makes it the perfect consultation.
It's consistency, and this is absolutely key. I think where we always measure first-time visits, and as you've all seen in your trends, then we go to fifth-time plus, and that comes from a lot of work that was done a good few years ago with Gus and the team, and they actually looked at the drop-off rate from 100 clients coming in to all of our stylists, And the drop-off rate from first visits to second visit was 70%. So from 100 visits, the stylist was losing 70. So their next visit, second visit, was 30. Then the second visit would come in, they would lose another 5, and so forth. So actually, by the time you get to fifth time visit, people were keeping 10 out of 100 brand new clients to fifth time visit. That fifth time visit may take a full year to complete if a client is coming in every 2 or 3 months. So these are kind of building blocks that we've really got to understand. And it really hit home to me is in a book that I read called The E-Myth, and it's nothing to do with hairdressing. The guy's nothing to do with hairdressing, but he uses an analogy in his book, and it's all about how to grow and build your self-development, or as a person or as a business. And he uses the analogy of going to see his hairstylist. And again, this guy's nothing to do with our industry. So he goes in and sees his hairstylist, and he sits there and he finds it quite relaxing because the guy's going scissor over comb. And as a businessman, he just liked to sit and close his eyes, didn't want to talk or engage. We brought over a cup of tea, and that was him, and then away you go. So then he'd go back for his second visit, and it was really nice. On the third visit, the hairdresser changed from using scissor over comb to clippers and clipped his hair, which wasn't what this guy wanted. This guy liked the relaxation of scissor over comb, but it was the hairstylist that made that decision. He didn't ask him as a customer, did he want the system changed? Did he want the experience changed? And he left the stylist because he wanted to go to a stylist that was going to go to scissor over comb. So the whole point of 10-step is, no matter how you utilize it, as long as you do, you will deliver a consistent visit for your client. Because we all get mistaken that once a client's coming to see us 2, 3, or 4 times, they're always going to stay with us. And we forget that no matter how close and friendly we get with our clients, they're there for a hair visit.
Exactly.
They're there to feel great, they're there to feel amazing, they're there to be advised by the stylist. Yeah. So if we get too relaxed and we start dropping some of those steps, the client's like, well, last time they talked to me about what I was using on my hair, last time they showed me how to use the iron, whatever it was. And if you start dropping those steps, they feel like they've been taken for granted. And it's tiny little things that erode our clientele.
Exactly, and that's the taking for granted thing so key, isn't it? That we're at a stage economically, spiritually, emotionally, where people just, that is the absolute red flag, and that they don't want that. Obviously, some of the things have changed in that rebooking's probably the thing. You know, I was at Forest this year, and the guy that invented the system is telling people that Rainbow Room International was the first company in the world with fully autonomous online booking. So again, I don't know if you all know that in the room, but online booking before Alan invented it was you emailed a receptionist, she put the appointment in, and then they emailed you back and went, aye, you're in with John at 11:15, and you'll leave at 4:15. Because the stories are going to be that good. But we were the first people that you could fully autonomously put an appointment in, leave a deposit, and that was there. And because of that, we're sitting as an organisation that's 70% online booking. Now, I'll go to any Schwarzkopf thing or anything, and they're all high-fiving because they do 30%. They all think 30% is an industry standard if they've got that, and we're sitting at 70 as a brand. So that means that the rebooking bit on your 10-step is maybe a little bit vague now. But talking to Will about it, you know, where do you feel that should go now?
Well, everything evolves. I mean, I remember being in salons where you had a paper book. Remember an appointment book? And it was pencil, and then you used to put a highlighter through it. And I then remember being told you need to start to take somebody's phone number. And I was like, what? You can't ask somebody for the phone number. Do you know what I mean? And so everything evolves.
You were asking them for the phone number, weren't you? Kind of sitting there like that. We dropped the shoulders. So is that 2 sevens?
It was going to happen, wasn't it? He was going to say it. So, but yeah, I think where it's evolved to now, it's making sure people are in the booking system. You know, I clearly remember as part of the company when we went live with online booking, and we were told this isn't going to work by companies outside of us. This won't work. People don't want this, etc. No. And they do. So now it's all about organisation. So it's talking to your client about how they want to book their appointments. You know, are they an online booker? 70% clearly are. Mm-hmm. But actually some people do still like to schedule an appointment whilst they're in for the next visit. So I don't think we should take it for granted.
No, of course not. No.
Everything is the same system, but they need to be in the system. And it's also making sure that, do they know that we can't just talk to them, they have to give us permission to send them messaging. So actually talking to your client about that, because 3-6 months in between visits can be a long time. But as a company, we can continue to talk to your customer, your client, with all the things that we do. But that has to be part of the online booking system now. We've got to get, sort of the authority from the client.
Exactly. And you really need to give your front of house teams as much support in this as possible, because moving forward in the next 6 months, the capability of the software that we've got is going to open up some really super new avenues for us. And part of that and key to that is going to be that the information's correct in the system in the first place. And the person that's going to benefit from that is going to be yourself and your column. So it's going to be super important. And it's not that we're nagging you or we're moaning at you about it, right? Because it's about your clientele. But again, I think, what tips have you got then within the 10-step to ensure that third visit becomes a fourth, becomes a fifth, just now with what we've got in place at the moment?
I think, just study it, look at it and work on how, and tailor every client visit to that individual visit. Yeah. So if I've seen somebody for the first time, it's the welcome, it's shiatsu, consultation, and then you kind of commentary, haircutting, your styling, so you're going through education, online booking, so you're talking to them and you're talking about products, colour testing. I kind of make my colour ideas for the next visit on that visit.
So you're
and then I put it in, and this is another thing, because we're going to be really using Forest hard soon. So then I'll put in the colour notes into that system at that point. And the reason I do that is so the client knows what's happening on their next visit. It gives them a reason to come in.
Of course.
If I'm working through on commentary haircutting and I'm doing a particular fringe, like an over-directed diagonal fringe, for example, I'll actually explain that to the client. So therefore, she's less willing to go to somebody else because they go, do they know what an over-directed diagonal fringe is?
No.
It's like little subtleties just to put into the cut. So. And then, the compliment is really important, and then the rebooking. So when they come back next time, I might have talked about the colour previously. So I'll then bring the colour part of the consultation to the front.
Yeah, amazing.
They're sat in there doing the consultation and saying, right, we discussed colour last time, so are we doing this? Your skin tested, we're ready to go. Yeah, great. And I've already got my colour notes in there. Yeah. So for speed and things like that, it's absolutely great.
It's incredible. And today, we're actually going to launch something, and you have got 4 months ahead of any other organisation that uses this system. And when you go back to your salons on Tuesday with your hangovers and your sore heads and missing shoes and whatever's missing,
missing teeth,
you're going to go onto your system. You're going to go onto your system. And this is why it's absolute key that this information's in here, whether that's future colour notes. What does your client drink? What does she like? What does he like? What magazines do they like? Every single piece of information. Because what you're going to do is you're going to click on your client at front of house, and there's going to be 3 little boxes. And at the top left, it's going to say cheat sheet. And you're going to hit that cheat sheet button. And what that's going to do is that is going to mine all of your client's information from every visit she's ever had or he's ever had with the brand. It's going to tell you how often they come. So if they're in your head and you think that they're only coming every 12 weeks, but it turns out they're actually an 8-week visit, you know that. But that's a person that you want to maybe, I would really like to see her for 6 weeks, so that's something that can put into consultation. That information is going to be there. What do they want to drink? What do they like? That's all there. Then, how did you cut the hair? What's our previous visits been? That's there. The AI technology is then going to recommend colour palette. It's going to tell you things that you did at the past. And go, she used to get a toner. It used to be 9.4. Do you think she maybe still needs that? That's going to be there. It's then also going to look back at her retail history and go, you might need to remind her that she's got to get silver shampoo again because her blonde's not looking as great. Now, with all AI and all tech, the more information that you're going to put into it, the better it's going to be coming back. But this is a time-saving game changer. that's going to turn that third, fourth client into a fifth visit client. So everybody else that's sitting with a forest system right now hasn't got that. So whether somebody has got forest stuff and they're up the street from you, you've got it first, and you're going to have it for 4 months before anybody else. So when you get back to the salon, look at it, but look at the stuff that's got holes in it. Make sure that you're filling that information, because it's going to be so powerful, and that's only the start of their technology. You had a look last week, and you were kind of mucking about because we knew we were going to be talking about it, and you were kind of playing around with it. How much of an impact do you think it's going to be moving forward?
Amazing. I mean, I'm really AI. I love AI, absolute AI fiend, and I think that when you click it, it brings through. So I was looking at some of my clients going back 15, 20 years, and it was telling me one of my clients in 2011 felt a bit of discomfort at the backwash on her neck, and can she always make sure that she's got a cushion on the back of her neck. So I've obviously put that in at some point when she's in, so it will look at all of the information you put in.
And you're not going to, in defence to yourself, you're not going to scroll back that far.
No,
we're only going to, what did I do last time, or what did I do a couple of times ago? But the idea that that's going to mine a client from 16 years ago and give you a really vital piece of information, quite frankly, with legislation to do with backwashes and cushions and stuff, it is unbelievable.
So it goes through 5 sections, so it reviews all of your clients' history. So it'll be, what colours have you done? And if you've put notes in, she loved this colour, wasn't keen on that, whatever it might, it will bring all of that back up for you. Then it will look at discussions that you've had. So if you've recommended products, it'll go, you've recommended this before, she bought it again then, she hasn't bought it now. So maybe it's time to revisit with that client. And then it's like you discussed silver toners with her, so maybe you should talk about silver shampoos today. And then it's like how she likes to be served tea and coffee, all of these things. So it's actually taken 10-step, and they've made it AI. It's AI 10-step, that's what it is. So that just goes to show how forward-thinking we've been. And this is making it even easier for us to deliver the consistency that we were talking about from the E-Myth book about how clients like the same visit. Not always the same hair, not always the same look, but they want to feel the visit because they feel comfortable in that visit.
No, it is amazing. And obviously one of the things that we discussed is the idea that for as much as there's going to be a lot of AI coming in, hairdressing is still ultimately a human experience.
But it is, because they want you, and they like the way that you engage with them, they like the ideas that you give them. But this is technology around us that just makes it easier for us to be consistent. So therefore, it gives us a competitive advantage because we are in a highly competitive industry, hugely competitive. And if you, for 1 second, take your client for granted, toast. Because there's somebody else there just waiting to get that client. And I always look at my clients in what do they generate over a year. And a single client over a year may be worth £1,000 to £2,000 through your column. These are people spending serious amounts because it is important to them, and they haven't just chosen Rainbow Room because, first of all, they'll have found us through social media. Then they will look at our website. Then they're going to look at the salon that they like to go to. Now they're looking at the team within the salon. Then they're seeing the face that they think, oh, I like. Then they're reading the bio of that person. The buying purchase, the purchase experience of a new client doesn't start. Someone's not just come through the door that day. They've probably spent weeks jumping off one website onto another website, looking at this stylist, looking at that stylist, making an active decision. So when they're with you as a first-time visit, they have looked at you. They probably actually Googled you. They probably, if you don't have a good Google, by the way, make sure that you are looking good on Google, because that's what everyone does. Wil Fleeson. Okay, let's Google him. Oh, no.
But it's then about managing that expectation, though. Because that's huge. I mean, we're talking about past, and Alan and Linda put a show on at the Clothes Show Live a long time ago, and it was from the point where they were flipping through the yellow pages and phoning Rainbow Room, and then the client's journey and experience right through to leaving it at the end. And fast forward to the world that we're in now, you say that's an online journey. The journey's not necessarily changed, but because it's more visual, the expectation's probably going to be, if not higher than it's ever been before. But again, that whole journey, you explaining that it's so fundamental that we keep these people at this moment in time is so important. For me, what I need you to do is absolutely fill that system. I come back from Ireland and I sit in the room and I moan at everybody that we don't use forest to its absolute kind of 10th degree, but then we don't actually put the information in, and Alan goes, well, it's not getting used, so what's the point, and all that. So if you, pardon my French, ladies and gentlemen, press pause, kick the arse out of this for me over the next 4 months, I promise you we're going to deliver some amazing things in the summer using forest that you will not be able to believe. So if you please 100% utilise this bit, then I can get to deliver more stuff to you.
Get all your colours off paper cards.
Get them off cards.
Get them off cards and get them into the system.
I keep the cards as well, but just in case, right? Just keep the cards as well.
Save a tree.
So, before we finish podcast live, still a week in the rain, everybody. Well done. Chocolate.
Which one do you like? Lindor. Oh, Westbergold. There we go. I knew that.
Great. Jackie, there's a wee cheeky Lindor for the room. Well done, fabulous. That'll be my breakfast at 4 in the morning. Well, my breakfast, it'll be my late snack at 4 in the morning. So last question, Congress, all these years, all these many ones, the ones that you can remember, the ones that you can't remember, what's it meant to you?
Well, I think you said the word, it's a celebration, isn't it? It's like celebration of all of the greats of the past. All of the greats right now is happening. They're all going to be going on stage now, tonight. And then a celebration of all the young guys that are coming through, which are going to be the greats of the future. Brilliant. And it's everyone together in one room. And it just even milling around, it's just so nice to talk to other people. And as a group, we're so welcoming. Yeah. I'm just wandering up to assistants I've never spoken to before. And I'm like, how you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's lovely. So it's just a big celebration, but there's so much knowledge in this room. Yeah. The amount of knowledge in this room is terrifying. So literally, get out your comfort zone, go and speak to somebody that you want to know something about, and just do it. And get yourself a little nugget of knowledge to go in, and then have a great night tonight.
Exactly. Most importantly, have a great night. Well, amazing. I know you've already been in the hot seat before as well, and this is your second time around, so well done. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Wil Fleeson.
Thank you.